Hey friends, welcome back to the channel and welcome to a follow-up on all of my Amazon travel purchases that I made for my trip to Spain. Quite a few of you, either in comments or like DMs on Instagram, asked me about some specific products and asked if I would do a follow-up on the items that I purchased. So here is that promised video. So let's get into it. I have 13 items that I'm gonna go over here. Unfortunately, almost all of them are like packed away in our travel stuff now back in our storage closet. So for a lot of these, I'm going to be putting up pictures of for things that I'm actually still using in my everyday life. I do have a few of them sitting here that I will show you like up close and personal. But like I said, mostly I will be showing you photos because when you live in a small space, you have to put things away. You can't just leave things out. So my apologies that I didn't get this video filmed before we took everything back, but let's get into it. They are mostly faves, but there are some fails. So let's get into my faves and fails of my Amazon travel products. Before we get into the first product, I thought I would talk about my lip color because I know you guys loved the lip color in my last video, which was a Chanel. This is a traditional lipstick. This is an Hermes color. It is in Rose Zinzalin. Very similar shade, I would say, as that Chanel lipstick. So again, if you're not a super big fan of more of a liquid lipstick type formulation, although I will say that I don't find that drying at all, you might try this one instead. So I'll have it linked below for your convenience. All right, the first item is one that I think is absolutely critical if you travel, especially if you check luggage, but even if you don't check luggage and you are flying internationally, especially between countries, I think you even need this for a carry-on luggage, and that is a luggage scale. This one here is super easy to use, very inexpensive, but like I said, it can save you from perhaps having to move things from one suitcase to another. I had to do that actually on our trip to Europe in 21. And let me tell you, if I had had this scale at the time, I wouldn't have been scrambling at the airport, moving items from one piece of luggage to another, trying to even out the weight and not be over the weight limit in my luggage. So buy this please, because it will save you a lot of headaches and also save you some money on excess weight luggage in the future. All right, number 2 on the list is I think it's actually called the Turtle, but it's basically the neck support product that I bought to go to Spain. So again, I will pop a picture of it here. This was a definite fave. So we have a couple of the traditional neck pillow things, those sort of donut-y looking things that, go around. And I just never really found them that comfortable. I don't honestly like that kind of bulkiness in the back of my neck, trying to lean your head back, and it just, I don't know. They've just never really worked for me. So this one was great. I will say there is a little bit of a learning curve and to figure out how it's supposed to sit on your shoulder and how you wrap it around. So I would advise that maybe before you leave on your trip, you do 2 or 3 practice runs of putting it on and doing it on both sides so you kind of know how it goes. Once you know how to do it, it's fine, but I didn't do that, and so I was having a little bit of a struggle, I will say, on the flight to Spain, trying to figure this out in the midst of it being midnight and I'm trying to do it and not disturb my mom and all that. But so do a couple trial runs, but I would say, at least for me, it made sleeping much easier. And also I will say that on the flight to Spain, I was sitting in the window seat, which just in general, I think is easier to sleep on a plane when you're in the window seat because you can kind of lean your head against the wall, window kind of area, especially if you've got a pillow, that kind of thing. But on the way back, I was sitting in the aisle seat because I knew I was going to have to use the restroom 10 million times during the flight, and I didn't want to bother my mom by like trying to step over her or wake her up or whatever. And so when you're sitting in, you know, either like a middle seat or the aisle seat and you don't have the luxury of, you know, leaning your head up against the window or the wall, you really need something supportive. So I will say it was great on the flight back because, like I said, I didn't have that extra support and it worked like a charm. So that one was definitely a fave. Number 3, and also a fave, is actually one that I do use while I'm at home and pairs very nicely with the neck support when you're trying to sleep, and that is an eye mask. Now, my favorite thing, as I showed you guys in my initial video, that I like about this is they are domed. So you don't have that issue of like smushing your eyes. So again, if you're wearing eye makeup or whatnot, you don't want something that's like flat to your eye. As you can see, these are domed shape. As I said, they look like a little bikini, but they've got little dome sort of cups so that, you know, you can open your eye if you wanted to, but it's not smushing your eye. So I really appreciate that. And this plus the neck support allowed me to sleep, I'm not going to say like a baby, but allowed me to get some fairly decent sleep on the plane. All right, let's talk about a fail. So in my video, I showed you guys this tray table cover, which then also had hanging from it a set of like pockets in it, right? And I was all excited because it could fit your water bottle, and you know, so it had like 2 wider pockets on, you know, the outside of each side, and then the middle pocket was a little bit thinner. So if you, I don't know what you would put in there anyway, a pen or something like that. But here was the issue, and as I mentioned in my Your Faves and Fails video previously, it may be because I was using it in conjunction with the footrest, which we'll get to later, but because of the way that pocket part hangs, it doesn't hang like out of the way because it hangs straight down. So if you think about the pocket that's in the seat in front of you, right? That seat is back is like on an angle. It's not straight up and down like right in like where your legs are. It's slanted. So it's more out of the way. The way that pocket, like I said, hangs from the tray table is straight down. So if you know if the tray table's here, it's hanging a good probably 3 inches away from the seat back in that's behind it. And because of that, it really then kind of cuts into your leg room. And when you're in economy on an international, you know, long haul flight, the last thing you want is to cut into your already very small leg room. So that was definitely a fail. I mean, it was a good product from the sense of that it covered my tray table, and it, you know, I didn't have to worry about, you know, crud and stuff being all over it and all that. And so that was nice. And it also made it so it wasn't like super slick. So if I had a drink sitting on it, you know, you felt a little more comfortable. If there was some turbulence or something, you weren't having to like clutch your cup every 2 seconds. And, you know, obviously it was nice to have the pockets, but especially with my water bottle in it, like I ended up not putting my water bottle in it because it was hanging down straight and already encroaching on my legroom. Then putting my big bulky water bottle in it just made it even worse. So yeah, I would say unfortunately, again, it could also be because it was in conjunction with my footrest thing, and so I was trying to keep my knees up, and I don't know. Personally, I don't think that made that big of a difference. To me, it was a fail. So speaking of the footrest, let's talk about that next. And to me, this was a fave. Now, I didn't really use it. I had a subscriber and also a friend here ask me, because she, I think, had bought one previously before she saw it on my travel video, and asked about, you know, having it so that you could like extend your legs. I didn't use mine in that manner, and I could see where perhaps that really wouldn't work. The reason I wanted it was to have my feet like elevated, not really so that I could stretch out my legs. It was frankly easier for me to stretch out my legs more, you know, just having them on the ground and just, you know, having them go underneath the seat in front of me. Now, maybe if I didn't have my tote bag in front of me, maybe then I could have, but I really wanted it to be able to just put my feet on it and have them raised off of the ground, because I just, for me, like I said, that just is a more comfortable position for me to try to sleep in. And so it worked for me. I would say if you know, are gonna be on a flight, pick it up, give it a try. If you don't like it, you can always return it to Amazon. So for me, it was a fave, but like I said, give it a try, see what you think. Depending on how you want to use it, it may or may not work for you, but for my use, I really enjoyed it. All right, the next fave was this travel converter. So as I talked about in my video, and we'll talk about next, I had both a travel converter and a travel adapter. So the converter allowed me to use some items that I wouldn't have been able to use with just the adapter, because the current needed to be converted. So my hot tools, for example, so I did take my straightening iron and that worked perfectly. And then I also took my travel steamer, which probably should have included on this list. I guess I've had it for so long, I didn't think about it that way, but I'll have it linked below, and I'll maybe throw a picture up of it here. It was definitely one of my faves for last month, but it worked great. And what I really also liked about it is it had a USB-C adapter. Yeah, the one you need now for the like newer iPhones. Whereas the adapter that we're going to talk about didn't have that as a part of it. So for me, it was great, and it had, I think, 3 USB ports as well as a USB-C, and then it had 2, you know, regular outlets that you were able to use. So it was great. I just always plugged it in right next to the bed on my nightstand. I was able to plug, like I said, my phone charger in it, and was able to plug in my Apple Watch charger, my AirPods charger, as well as my portable charger. So I was able to charge all 4 of those things at the same time. And then additionally, when I needed to plug my straight iron in or whatnot, I just, you know, unplugged those things, moved it into the bathroom, and was able to use it there. So that was fantastic. And it does come with 3 different outlet adapters, so you can use it pretty much across the globe. And in addition to the converter, another fave was the adapter that I brought. And while I wouldn't have necessarily needed to use it because of the converter that I had, and I could plug all of my things in there, every hotel, very interestingly, that we stayed at in Spain, none of them had USB inputs like into their electrical system. When I was in both London and France in September last year, I think both hotels I stayed at had a couple of USB ports that were, you know, integrated into their electrical sockets. So if you didn't have an adapter or anything, you didn't have to worry about it. You could plug in there directly. But none of the hotels that we stayed at did. Now, my mom still has a slightly older version of an iPhone that has a regular USB adapter. So it was nice because I was able to give her then that adapter, which she could plug in on her side of the bed, and then she was able to charge her phone. So that was great. Again, it is an all-in-one. You like push out different options depending on which country you're in. So again, it's pretty universal. It does not cover any of the Asian countries, but other than that, I think it pretty much covers everything else. It covers obviously the US, it covers Australia, it covers the UK, and it covers all of Europe. So it was great. And like I said, without it, my mom would not have been able to charge her phone, or at least have her phone next to her, because it would have had to have been on my side of the bed. So it was perfect, great, definitely a fave. Another fave was the AirFly Bluetooth adapter. So this again, I should have done a little due diligence before we got on the flight and figured out how to connect them via Bluetooth to my phone, or to my headphones, excuse me, before the flight. There was a bit of a panic moment as we were taxiing to the runway to take off on our way to Spain, and I was really struggling to get the thing paired. And I, quickly tried to pull up the instructions, because I guess I didn't bring, I thought I had brought the instructions, but I didn't bring the instructions, because I thought, well, how hard is it to pair anyway? So luckily I was able to pull up the instructions before we took off, so that I was able to read through those. But there was a bit of a moment of panic where I thought, oh my gosh, I just bought this for absolutely nothing. So I was able to figure out how to pair it. Like I said, probably should have done a little due diligence and a little, homework before I left to get them paired to start out with, because once you get them paired, then you don't have to do it after that. But got them paired, they worked perfectly. The one thing I will say is, do make sure that you charge them again before your trip home, because I didn't do that, and it died basically halfway through my trip back. But that's okay. I used the airline ones, it was fine. But I will say it was much, much nicer to not use those corded ones and get it caught up in things and all sorts of things like my mom was doing. So highly recommend the iFly. It's a little bit pricey, but I think well worth it, because, you'll be able to use it on any flight you have coming in the future. So definitely recommend. Another fave, which I don't think that I talked about in my what I was taking to Spain video, were these silicone, basically beauty makeup, cream containers. So I needed some small, containers that I could depot bigger creams and things into, because I certainly wasn't going to be taking my giant jars of La Mer soft cream and creme de la mer and my neck cream and all that stuff. And I didn't have any travel sizes of those. So I bought these. They were great. I really liked the silicone aspect of it. They fit perfectly in my new Nice Mini, is what I did take for my skincare type items. And yeah, they were great. And you could easily use like a Sharpie and write on the bottom of them if you wanted to, of what was in each thing. It comes in a pack of 4. I just ended up using 2 of them, but they were great. And I really enjoyed them. Like I said, they stayed closed. I was a little worried because you don't screw the top on. You just sort of it just pushes on. And so I thought, ooh, are these gonna open up during travel and things like that, and I'm gonna end up with this cream all over the place? And no, they were great. Like I said, and my luggage was in and out and in and out and in and out, because we were, taking a bus basically to all these different cities, and there were 3 or 4 cities where we literally only spent 1 night in a hotel. So like I said, my stuff was getting pulled in and out, and it was on and off the bus constantly, and I had absolutely no problem. So I would say these were a huge win. The next item was a fave that you guys had for the month of May and was definitely a fave of mine, and that were these hair clips. I'm not going to say a lot about them because I've just talked about them recently, but what I love about them is that they fit the curve of your head. And so unlike a claw clip, if you're trying to keep your hair up and out of the way, you don't have to worry that you cannot lean your head back either in a car or on a plane or wherever you're traveling. Now obviously these don't have to be used just for traveling, but I think for travel purposes and putting your hair up, etc., these are an absolute go-to for me in the future because, like I said, I was able to put my hair up both on the plane and on the bus, and I was able to sleep perfectly well. Another win is this Bluetooth pillow speaker. So this was something that I bought originally to use here, at home, so I don't disturb David when I listen to things at night, but it was a perfect item to take on my trip. So, if you are traveling with other people, whether it be a significant other or a friend or kids or whatever it is, if you are sharing a room with somebody, this is invaluable because, I think most people, either listen to a podcast or maybe you're just listening to white noise or whatever it is, the rainforest or, birds and wilderness sounds or something. This allows you to, it goes, underneath your pillow, so it's super flat. You don't feel it when you're sleeping, but it can works with, like I said, I don't know, the bones or the cartilage or something in your ear. And so your partner or whoever is sleeping near you can't hear it, but you can, and you just control the volume on your phone or whatever device you're using. And yeah, you can hear it, but not disturb your partner. Let's do our last fail before we do the final fave. I always want to end on a positive note. And this one I wouldn't say necessarily was a fail. It was just more that I didn't really end up using it. And then the one day I did use it, it just wasn't really, I just didn't think it was big enough, I guess, or I don't know. It just didn't carry what I wanted it to carry. So what I'm talking about is this RFID pouch. In hindsight, I probably would have picked some other type of RFID protective thing to put my cards in. Unfortunately, it is very, very small and very, very slim, so you can't really fit a whole lot in it. And so I found that I still actually ended up taking my card holder with me, but I didn't not want to take some of the things that were in there. So for example, I had my insurance cards and things like that. And that stuff it was too many things to be able to put in that pouch. So what I ended up doing is the day that I used the pouch, which was when we were in Barcelona out shopping, is I basically put my driver's license and my credit cards in the RFID pouch. And then I kept all of my other sort of miscellaneous cards that I had brought on the trip, like I said, insurance, things like that, in my Chanel card holder and had that in my bag as well. I think, like I said, in the future, if I was doing it and I wanted that kind of security, I would do more of kind of maybe like a belt bag kind of situation, which they do have, which, you can wear even under a shirt, that kind of thing, that would have given me a little more room. I just felt like the purpose that I wanted it for didn't really meet my needs, if that makes sense. And the final item and a fave was the phone strap that I took. So as I mentioned, I had heard before I left and then heard from our guide over and over and over again about the pickpockets in Spain. And I know I had one of you who commented on my video about, that you don't really need to be concerned about pickpockets. This didn't come from me. Like I said, literally every single day, our guide on our tour as we were coming into a new city re-warned us about pickpockets and also sort of specifically some of the different places we were had some sort of different expertise in pickpocketing different things. But she definitely talked about, you know, do not put your phone, for example, on the table if you're at a restaurant, because somebody will very easily just come and grab it off the table and run. So having that phone, you know, cord or whatever you want to call it, strap, was super, super helpful. I thought for a while that I would only use the wristlet strap one, just because normally my phone is in my hand. But to be honest with you, the one that was more of like the long strap and I just wore it crossbody was perfect, because then I could be hands free, and it literally then sort of hung like under my purse. So, you know, kind of behind it, in between my body and my purse that I was carrying, because I basically was carrying everything crossbody. And so it was great. And then, you know, if I needed to film something or needed my phone, it was obviously right at, you know, a hand's reach. And then sometimes actually what I did, especially when I had my puzzle bag, was I would stick it in that back pocket vertically, but I didn't have to worry about somebody pickpocketing it and, you know, taking it out of there, because obviously that is very easy to grab out of the back of that pocket because it's sticking out. But because it was attached and tethered to me, somebody wouldn't have been able to grab it. So I would definitely highly recommend that. I saw a lot of people wearing like phone strap type things, and I don't just mean tourists. There were a ton of native, you know, Spaniards that were wearing their phones that way too. So I think it was a great product, definitely a good investment, and we'll continue to use them as we travel other places. So that's it, my friends. I hope you enjoyed this recap of my Amazon travel faves and fails. I think there were only 3 fails, so I think that's pretty good. That's a pretty good percentage. I will have everything linked in the description box below. You know, if you are traveling and interested in any of these items. If you have any travels upcoming this summer, I would love to hear about where you're going. I think it's great that we can finally get out and travel again now that everything is, you know, back open. I realize things have been open for a while, but I know some people, like my mom, still hadn't traveled since, you know, the pandemic had kind of settled down. So let me know what your travel plans are coming up. I would love to hear them. If you enjoyed the video, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up. It does help the YouTube algorithm and it helps push my video out to other people. And if you enjoy my content, I would love to see you back here. So click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when I upload videos. If you have not had enough of me yet, I will pop another video up here for you to watch. And wherever you are, I hope you are having an amazing day or evening, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.